She gave us a little eyebrow
I know,
action. She
little.
said,
Oh, these eyebrows?
The
What?
girl.
Yeah, exactly.
you better
She said, "I'm gonna
stop.
give it to the gays. Give it to the gays, honey. Give it to the gays."
All right, let's do
all
it.
right.
Oh.
right. That's. He's like, "Here we go."
I mean, listen, there's a lot of me to go around, guys.
See, Brian, don't be playing with our emotions like this, Brian.
Hey, community. I'm Brian Sims, queer Politico. What's brewing today?
Brian Sims.
Gays for Kamala.
And the Olympic GOAT, Simone Biles. So get your cups ready for Minority Report. Hey, welcome to Minority Report. It's Auntie Carell.
It's Auntie Duan.
And it's Auntie Jarrell. Hey.
Yeah. And community, you already saw from the jump. You saw the opening who's here with us. And obviously there's just a lot going on in the political world. So we had to pull in someone that is, familiar with that realm. So we got the one. Hold on, I had to write it down because him had 95 jobs, not even 15. We have the activist, the lawyer, former football player, kidney donator, I found out. Recently newly engaged, so he's breaking everybody's heart right now. The first gay rep in the state of Pennsylvania, the former state rep, and the original gay zaddy before Pete Buttigieg. We have Brian Sims here, the place to be. How you doing, boo?
I'm so good. Let me just say this. I'm not the first queer person in the Pennsylvania General Assembly, just the first out one.
Oh, get it together. Get it together.
Listen,
That's
we
a
all
whole
saw.
word. That's a
we
whole
all
word.
We all heard what happened at the RNC and Grindr. So
Let me just tell you,
That's a
no
word.
buildings that have that much marble and gilding in them haven't had queer people in them for all time.
Mhm.
That's a whole ass word. Because we done
Also-
seen all them wigs back in the day too.
You look, somebody was styling. It wasn't them.
Honey.
Or maybe it was.
That is a whole word. He said out. He said clarification. But no, first out representation in Pennsylvania, but now a New Yorker. How's that going, by the way?
Yeah, I'm new to it. I don't know yet. I managed to spend my whole adult life not being a queer person that moved to New York City. And suddenly now I'm here at 45 because my partner works here. And, so far so good. I've been here a couple months and I haven't really been here for the couple months I've been here. So
Yeah.
ask me in November after we've won the election.
That part.
We're going to see you
That
outside
part.
in November after we won the election.
That part.
Running up and
Yeah.
down the street, making
Yeah.
a fool of
In the
myself,
streets.
all of that.
She's at home.
Yeah.
Now, okay, I
Yeah.
got to do the community some justice, though, because, I wouldn't be Auntie Henny if it wasn't who I was. But, I have to say, you a fine-looking man. Respectfully, okay? Okay, respectfully.
Build up.
Okay?
He said respectfully, politically.
And,
I feel respect. I feel respect.
Look, respectfully, right? Because we all in relationships, we all good. So I'm doing this out of respect, okay? But I'm giving you your props though, because I ain't gonna lie, I did follow you before you got engaged. I was like, oh, this man's like, okay, he cute. Oh, he out here outside doing the right things too. Okay. So when I found out you was coming on, I had to make sure I gave you your flowers and said you was a fine man. So
You're a fine looking man yourself. I don't think
You
I
better
didn't notice
stop.
that beard.
you better stop.
Yeah,
You better
come on,
stop. You better stop. Okay.
Listen,
But you can keep going now, Brian. You can keep going.
Right.
There was chemistry the moment we signed on.
Look, we
There you
said,
go.
look, I saw them eyebrows and it was a wrap.
Oh,
It was a
geez.
wrap. It was done. It was funny. Obviously, I do my little research beforehand and everything. I'm watching different interviews you've done in the past on YouTube. And Corey's like, "Who was that fine man on the TV?" I was like, "That's the guest this week." He's like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah.
And Corey don't give a damn about anything.
Oh,
Anybody. but he gave a damn about you, so that's something.
Guys, if we could get in a time machine and go back and tell like 19-year-old me that 45-year-old me would be getting shout outs from like people I respect, please.
Yeah.
But it didn't hit me until my 30s. And, listen, better late than never. But I was
I know that's
a
right.
fully formed, insecure, doughy, queer adult by the time I knew what was what.
Well, let's go up with it then. Being a representative and a queer one, like, and let me see how I even want to phrase this, because like there's parts of gay queer culture that's part of the culture that might not be part of heteronormative culture in the political landscape and things like that. So being out on the road and things like that, and people being like, "Ooh, he fine and shit like that." Like how I missed it. What he said?
He said examples.
Oh, right, exactly right.
You're asking me about people throwing body parts at me, aren't you?
But it's like how do you accept that and say thank you? But you in that political lens, which they will kind of like beat you down, like us. We like shit. We out in market days. Thank you, boo. Oh, yeah. It's like shirts off, titties out. Like, I mean, that doesn't fly too much in the political landscape.
There's a couple answers to this. Sometimes I can, I'll catch what people are throwing, but not often. More often than not, I'll tell you. So
that's the football player in her. That's what that is.
But I got hands like knees. But still, I'll catch some things. I'll tell you that I was not single for most of my time in office, and so during the times that I was in relationships, I was in monogamous relationships. When I was in relationships, a lot of it had to do with every politician you've ever met that has screwed up their time in office, screwed it up because of money and sex. Yeah. Half the reason a lot of people thought I was in office was because of how sex was associated with me. And I wasn't going to give anybody that hook to screw with me or come for me. And it wasn't complicated. All of us do this every day in our lives. But I knew the moment I got elected that I wasn't going to have some, whether it be infidelity or screwing around or something, be the reason that I left office, that I was going to choose why I left. People weren't going to choose for me. So it's an honest answer. Right. It's an honest answer to a relatively fun question. And I will tell you that I've had my fair share of people walk up and say nice things to me, but every now and again, getting to walk up to somebody else and say some nice things to them, kind of maybe throw my parts at somebody else has been really nice too.
Being like, oh hi, I'm such a they know who you are. You just over there playing, being like, oh, it's so nice to meet you.
Yeah, but here's the thing: you say that, but everyone screws it up. Everyone thinks, even my mom thinks I was in like Congress. It's like I think a lot of people think if they know me, I must have been in Congress. So it's like senator. Like I'm not a senator. It's better than dog walker, I guess. But I people screw it up all the time. State rep.
Yeah. State reps. So he was out in the boonies of PA over there in Harrisburg,
in like the Narnia regions.
The Narnia regions. You better paint that picture because instantly knew where you were.
Right, a couple of fir trees and a couple of fur coats, and you're there.
Some furries.
Right. But like, where were you? So now, like, the political landscape, and I mean, so much has changed in literally the last 2 weeks. Is insanity. But where were you when you saw that Joe was dropping out? And then Kamala was going to be, or at least he like endorsed Kamala in that note.
Right. Like I will admit, I'm one of those people that I didn't piece them together. Like I knew that Joe was dropping out about 12 hours before I fully understood that he was going to support the vice president for the role. I was with a bunch of my partner's friends, and I've been getting asked this question for the better part of a week. And I was one of the people saying, no, he is not going to drop out. Like the only people calling him for him to drop out are rich white people donors that aren't dealing with the implications of any of the policies that he's been amazing at for the last couple of years. And I was real solid about that with people. And so when I saw that he did drop out, my heart dropped. I got to tell you, I spent that next 24 hours, like I think a lot of queer people did, questioning whether or not I had the capacity to go somewhere else. Did I have skills that someone would want overseas? Am I the kind of person that would leave because of a fight? Probably not. I have a lot of privileges that allow me to stay and fight. Do I want to? I went through all of it like everybody else did.
Yeah.
Definitely
And it
understand.
almost feels like ancient history already because so much since then has like
Right? 6 days later, it's like a
evolved.
whole new day.
It's like, I mean, like she's raised literally 200 million
$200 million.
plus
Yeah.
$200
in the
million.
last.
Took Barack
It's
Obama, I
crazy.
think, 16 or 17 months to
Yeah.
amass a $200 million war chest. Now, granted, he was doing it in 2007, 2008 in a different world, but it's funny. I think people forget that the person in America who's received the most votes ever was a woman. Now, the person who's received the most donations in a short period of time ever was a woman. Not just a woman of color. I hate these electability questions because you know what the measures we use all say that's the most electable person.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
You got to speak on it. I know that's right. Another question with the $200 million. For someone that has run a campaign, can you break down, at least from your perspective, where does that money go? Because a lot of times people are like, oh, $200 million, that should be enough.
Yeah,
like,
what does that do, right?
Like, it's hard to comprehend what $200 million can do and where it goes and why it goes.
Yeah, it really is. And I'll tell you, I have a friend who is running for a commissioner race in Florida, right? Down where his race might maybe cost a total of $50,000-$60,000. There was a Senate race that I was supporting on the West Coast. It was about $100,000 race. My own races were $250,000-$300,000 races. How does 200 million plus get spent? And the quick answer is it's going to get spent on a limited number of people in swing states who somehow have either not made up their mind or have not expressed enough interest in a particular candidate that others know that they have made up their mind. But it's going to be spent largely on TV, on ads, on production. I think the mistake that people believe is that there is someone getting very fat and very rich running a campaign operation, and there really isn't. I've met people at the top of the sort of campaign professional spectrum and people that work every day almost as volunteers on campaigns. And yeah, there's too much money in politics, no question. It's in media. But the reason there's too much money in politics because of media is the reason that media is sort of what it is right now. If I could change the Netflix and of the world, I would. But most of it is going to be spent with messaging for people that might not know how their rights or their day-to-day lives are on the line in this election, trying to teach people about it.
Well, shoot, let me give them some more money then, because I need them people to show up. Look, I know times are tough, and I know things are expensive these days, and I know, donating is a hard, thing to do because not everyone can afford to do it. But I for those who listening, for the community, if you can, I would also encourage you to reach out to other people in your network as well too, and encourage other folks to speak up and to donate as well too, because like they say, you got to put your money where your mouth is. And if you want to see these changes, this is that time to do exactly that.
Well, if be the change you want to see in the world, if every single person who is actually going to vote Democrat just donated $5 in advance of that vote, a month in advance, 3 months in advance, that would absolutely, sort of without question, guarantee this election for Democrats. And that's unfair, and that's also can be really frustrating. Like, why would money determine an election that has so much to do with sort of basic humanity and the fundamentals of American democracy and civil rights in the future depend on whether or not somebody gives $5? Well, tomorrow, if every single person who watches this podcast over the next 2 months donates $5, that might be enough money to change an election in a state like Georgia or in Virginia or Pennsylvania or Arizona. Donald Trump won his first election by about 110,000 votes spread out over 3 states, if he won it all. And we want to make sure that Kamala wins with this resounding boom that's befitting who she is as a candidate, what her experience is like, and the utter shitstorm that she's going to be asked to get us out of.
And that's
the
true.
other shitstorm. I know that.
Because they're not gonna make it easy for her. Like, they didn't make it easy for Brock. They didn't make it easy for Joe. They're definitely not gonna make it easy for a woman. And all this rhetoric that they're this name calling and this whole DEI bullshit that that they are seriously killing me with right now, it's going to continue into her term as well too. So I also want to make sure that we're voting at the local state levels as well too, to making sure that we're getting the right people behind her to be able to make sure that she can make these changes. Because that was Barack's first issue, was he didn't have, they blocked everything he did the first time. They were like, nope, sorry, no soup for you.
Yeah, they blocking shit now with Joe.
We also just need a deeper bench, right? Part of the reason that early on we were all sort of questioning whether or not there could be a different Democratic ticket and what would it look like is that we're all trying to figure out what a deeper bench looks like, right? Like, are people still mentioning Beto O'Rourke, or are people still talking about the candidates of the last presidential election cycle, or are we looking forward to the next presidential election cycle? And just because, say, someone lost a gubernatorial race in Georgia doesn't mean that they shouldn't still be being considered for example, a VP slot, or just because there's a black woman that's going to get the presidential nomination doesn't mean that we shouldn't also be looking to perhaps a black woman or a woman as the vice presidency. Women are a part of the reason that Joe Biden is the president and Donald Trump didn't have a second term. And so maybe relying on the power of the voices, the people that saved us now, is the most important time.
You know what? You're absolutely right with the power of the bench too, because now that you say some of those names, I'm like, what happened to O'Rourke? Where he at? Also, where's Stacey Abrams at?
Where's
like,
Stacey?
There's some names, right? Like,
Stacey was just at Kamala's thing tonight.
Tonight in Atlanta.
In Atlanta.
Yes.
I love that.
Megan Thee Stallion.
With Megan Thee Stallion.
Like right after Megan.
Megan, didn't she just allow her song? Didn't she just give up a song of hers to be used by Kamala?
I know Beyonce did, but maybe she did as well too. I can see it.
Her.
Oh.
She that'll be fire.
Take a pic. It's me.
Right.
That should be her winning. That should be her winning song.
Yes.
When she wins, that should be the song that she comes out
And
to.
just have a bunch of games coming out. Hey,
Right?
hey.
Every
I'll
time
be
she
here
does
for
that
it.
little like side trot out of Air Force One that she does, that little run she does, every time.
Yes.
Look.
The wind in her hair and everything. Yes, bitch.
I'm really curious about, like, now that we're on this side of Kamala is now kind of like, she's the girl. She's the
girl.
woman. She's the one.
Mm-hmm.
How would you describe your level of optimism now that you can look in the rearview mirror? What is your level of optimism in a Biden for president world now that we have a Kamala for president world?
It's interesting. I have liked Joe Biden as the president. He was not the person that I was most excited about running when he ran in his primary, and he won. And largely I think the way a lot of Democrats felt about Joe Biden, and that is almost sorry that this person who dedicated their entire life to politics also had to dedicate these final years of his, where he gets to spend more time with his family and his kids, to this, right? Having to dig us out of this pile of shit that he didn't cause.
Yeah.
But I also have been cognizant of the fact that he has been a very successful president. Successful in surrounding himself with experts, surrounding himself with people who care deeply about the positions they're in. Remember, the Trump presidency, his appointments were essentially defined by people who wanted to get rid of the agencies that they were appointed to lead, versus the Biden presidency, where he appointed people who were transformational leaders for a lot of the agencies that they were in. And I have felt really good about him as a president. And I have thought the best indication of who he will be for the next years is who he has been. But I'm also, I'm not blind. And I, of course, understood that his age was catching up to him. I was nervous about that. But I'll tell you, as I have done the math, I thought that Joe Biden was on his way to a multi-million vote win. There is a bump that being the incumbent president gives to a candidate in a head-to-head competition. Yeah. And how we measure that is hard, but it equates to somewhere between about 2.5 and 5 million votes. And if Biden had that, or if President Trump had that bump when Biden was challenging him, and Biden still won by 7.5 to 8.5 million votes, and now Biden was the incumbent, I could see a path towards a 10 million vote lead for a Biden presidency, all things being equal. But of course, all things are not equal. And so I going into where are those votes? What states are they in? How do they impact the Electoral College? I've been thinking about all of that until the $100 million mark from Kamala. And it became very clear that Kamala Harris is a transformational candidate at a time when we need it most. Keep in mind, part of the reason that we all got sort of blessed with the Barack Obama presidency was because of how bad and how myopic and how almost foolish W was as a president. It's the same reason that we got Jimmy Carter after Nixon. And if what we get, and after, if we have a buffer of a Joe Biden that leads us to 8 years of a Kamala Harris as a president following the Trump years, I'll feel like the continuation of those Obama years that I was so hopeful for. I remembered so deeply thinking of what would 16 years of democratic ideals and ideology and a Supreme Court appointments look like after President Obama. And I can see that in a President Harris. I believe that if she's elected, she will serve 2 terms, and she will go down in history as a president that we needed to take a whole bunch of things that were standardized but not legalized. So much of our tradition, so much of our sort of government heritage isn't codified, and it needed to be, or we wouldn't have gotten ourselves the type of Trump presidency that we had. And she's going to be the president that gets to oversee reformations to Congress, reformations to the presidency, reformations to the Supreme Court that will last with us for a lifetime.
Awesome. And I'm not sure if the video went out for y'all, but is it?
There
You go.
Oh, I'm sorry that it went out.
That's all right.
No worries.
Good.
No, it's good.
I'm going to make sure. Oh, no wonder. I unplugged. Give me one moment.
Plug it in, plug it in.
I know that sounded like a euphemism, but I mean it.
Wait, what?
I was going to leave it alone. I'm trying to be on my best behavior.
I think one of the things that people aren't really talking about enough, just my opinion, but this election is more than just political. It's really about voting for the kind of future we're to have in this country. Because if you really think about who's on the ticket right now, you couldn't have a more polarizing depiction of characters, right, that are representative of one kind of America from a 45 perspective and a different kind of America. And we're not really talking about that. Like it's typical to get focused.
Too, it's like it's just even bigger than America. It's the whole world is watching right now. We saw what Unleashed the last time he got into office, and that's why we're having a lot of the crazy shit going on now. So it's like the entire world is literally watching us in this moment, saying, "Okay, is America gonna fuck this shit up some more, or can they finally steer this shit the way we have admired them, some countries, and others be like at least respected a little bit them to be all this time? And if they're going to be this global leader, then like you said earlier, Drew, put your money where your mouth is. Then like leave some shit, because this is crazy. And I agree with you, DeJuan, that it's not talked about enough, and it bothers the shit out of me that people are like, oh, she smiles too much, she laughs too much. Like there's an empathy in that smile, there's a hope in that smile that we haven't seen otherwise. So if you are scared of hope and empathy and sympathy and things like that, and actually enjoying your fucking self, that sounds like some shit dealing with you, because that one, I don't know why that one bothers me so bad. Just like that's literally her track record is so good that you gotta go after a smile.
And call
like, are you that
right?
bitter at life?
They went after Obama for wearing a tan suit. God damn it! It's not unsurprising for them to try to pick the smallest idiosyncrasy and try to blow that shit up, because these are deflection techniques. Yeah. That's it.
It does feel different. It does feel different because it's her, right? Like you're almost waiting for them to start talking about her hair or to start talking about her clothing. Like it is impossible to separate the sexism and the racism from anything, in part because largely we're talking about people that support policies that are sexist and they support policies that are racist. And so it's not a stretch to impugn any amount of racism or sexism on any of these really shallow, sort of pathetic criticisms. And listen, I understand that anybody lobbying those criticisms would say, how dare you? Well, you know how we dare, because I've got 4 years of history of seeing what happens when you are emboldened and empowered. And I know what the code words are, just as the rest of us do. And when you talk about going to a colored college or being a part of a colored sorority, give me a break. Like, give me a break. Give me a break. And we don't have to pretend that that stuff is anything is even slightly coded. We don't have to pretend that anymore, right? This is a president that went in front of a bunch of Catholics in the last couple of days and said, if you vote in this election, you won't have to vote again in 4 years because we're going to take care of it. This is a Project 2025 president that wants to en masse remove Muslims from the United States. Imagine what that would do to our culture. Imagine that would do to our communities to remove Muslim Americans from America. So yeah, I'm gonna know when you say you don't like her laugh that you're a racist, sexist person that is using her laugh as code because you can't say anything more.
Period, Pooh. I know that's right.
So running on an election, like there's so many things that need to be done. And from your perspective, outside even just money, what are the best utilizations of folks' talents? Is it going door to door? Is I don't even know what the other options are really. But it's like what are the options
Bringing
that you're like, oh, they're probably going to need more of this because I ran into this as well.
Dewan just said it. Is like bringing a +1? Is it filling out postcards? Is it joining these large mass Zooms that are sort of fundraisers, but also sort of friend raisers and information exchange? The quick answer is it's a bit of a hodgepodge of all of them, and it largely depends on where you are. If you are not in one of these swing states, you're lucky because it means that a large portion of the money that is going to be spent in this campaign isn't going to be spent hounding you to vote for a candidate. It's going to be spent hounding people in Arizona and Virginia and maybe in Kentucky, depending on what happens with the governor. And so if you are not in one of those swing states, if you're in a state that you know is going to go blue or you know is going to go red, what you need to start doing is focusing outside of your state. And it's really easy to do. A lot of national organizations will lead phone banks, for example, where you're calling into a state. And I'll use Pennsylvania as an example. You could be an Iowa voter who believes deeply that Kamala is the future of the Democratic Party, and you'll get a list of numbers to call into Pennsylvania. And you'll be calling Democratic voters that probably have registered Democrat, but maybe they've never voted. Or maybe they voted for Biden the first time, but they have not expressed any interest in voting in this election. And you're just going to call and say, hey, I'm Brian, and I care deeply about this election because I believe that bodily autonomy is fundamental to human rights, and robbing women of the control of their bodies is too much for me as a candidate, and I believe in this candidate. Sometimes it's just that. The money thing is important, but it's not the most important thing. If you have time to volunteer, knocking doors and making phone calls in those states where the electoral college votes matter the most is really, really high on the list. It's higher than it normally is. Also, local campaigning is real campaigning. There's no such thing as really just going out and campaigning for a president. And if you're just campaigning for the president, you're doing it wrong. Wherever you are, whatever physical door you are knocking on, that door has a city council person, that door has a state representative, it has a senator, it might have some county commissioners, and it has a president, but it also has an attorney general. It might also have a state secretary, a treasurer. You need to support those. You also don't need to know who they all are. The barrier to entry to politics is not universal understanding of politics. The barrier to entry is caring and being impacted by it, and we're all impacted by it.
Yeah, that's right. Question for you. Do you have like a source of truth that you go to for getting information, as far as like information to know as far as when you're having conversation with people on the other side, right? Or people who are on the fence. And the reason why I ask is because I think there's a large number of folks who want to help and that are in positions where they have families or friends in some of those areas. But being able to provide resources in those conversations, right, is very important. And telling someone to just go look it on the internet can't be the answer these days because there's a bunch of bullshit on the internet as well too, right? So do you have any type of source of truth that you like to go to or that you like to send people to be like, hey, this is where you can get actual facts on what is actually happening and on the two candidates, so you can know that there's definitely a right choice and there is a wrong choice?
It is such a good question, in part because everybody is asking this question of themselves and very few people ever ask it out loud. And the quick answer is no, because that doesn't exist. There is no one righteous, truthful source of information anymore. Objective. And that's part of the reason we're kind of in this quagmire, right? We're all required now to do a little bit of homework, a little bit of digging. We have to be a little bit more diligent about the sources of information we see. Every one of us has seen something that affirmed a belief we had and thought, oh, see, it's news, and shared it, only to find out subsequently it was something that came out of our own bubble and that was not real. And, and whether you apologize or whatever. But your point is very well taken. And that is that now we're at this place where you got to go to a lot of places. I am lucky in that I get to go, I try to, as often as I can, go to the direct sources of information. I
said, let me call Kamala up right quick.
Hey,
Kamala right now. Hey, girl.
Hey, Kamala.
So,
Right?
what you doing in
Aunties had
Atlanta?
said.
She said, we'll be going after for drinks afterwards, girl.
Tell me more about what you've done. I got to pass this on to my crazy aunt.
Right.
What I find is that if I do, I'll give you a perfect example. The how much money was raised by that like white women for Kamala thing the other day.
Mm-hmm.
I have heard 5 different numbers that are astronomically different from each other. I've heard different numbers about how many people participated. Do I think lots of people participated and lots of money was raised? I absolutely do. But that sort of, it kind of remains to be seen what the hard data is. So then I ask myself, what is it that I want to share? Am I trying to share hard data, or am I trying to share anecdotal information?
Of it, yeah.
Right? Am I trying to share personal experience? And so maybe the answer to your question is that I think I have gotten better when I'm presented with opposition or with questions of answering or providing information that I know myself firsthand, that I've seen or witnessed personally, not just because I find information so hard to verify these days, but in part because we now know that the thing that is most likely to change another person's mind is letting them do that thing when you're talking where you know they're thinking of their own personal experiences while you're talking. Letting them do that, especially around politics, is their mind is trying to find some middle ground, trying to relate to you. And so the more personal, the more I and the me, and this is my experience, I think the more effective, which, by the way, is one of the reasons that women of color are so effective in politics and business, by the way, is that when you have a life experience that is built on overcoming, a life experience that is built on having to understand rooms full of people because they won't understand you, you get really good at it. It's a skill, it's a muscle, it's a competency that every one of us talks about in coded ways. We all talk about Black Girl Magic. We all mention trans excellence or talk about wise Latinas. Those are all coded ways of saying people who had to overcome some shit are really good at overcoming shit.
And getting shit done after the fact. Be like, you know what? Hold on, this is what we finna do.
Yeah.
And that's when you can come up with one-liners like bad built beach bodies.
Oh.
Honey.
From my experience.
Right. From where I come from, you got a bad built body, ho. That's what she really wanted to say.
Okay.
That's what she really wanted to say.
It's not what you're called, it's what you answer to. It's not what you're called, it's what you answer to.
The silent ho. That silent, like, it didn't need to be said. It just implied.
Right.
Ho.
It's just a hand nod.
That needed to be said.
Yeah.
That needed to be said. Absolutely. You know,
one of the things that
word. one of the things I think we can all probably agree with is that we have people in our lives that are on both sides of the aisle. And one thing that I've said on this podcast and many different forums is that
I got rid of all of them.
Some bitches had to go. They had to go in 2020.
Most of us. At any rate, one of the things that I've said for me is that I don't really have any ill feelings towards Republicans as a political party. And in fact, there's a lot of ideology if that party acted upon its real ideals in terms of smaller big government, more fiscal responsibility, could be really good for the country. It is polarizing when you look at the fringes on both sides of the aisle, and I think we're all navigating very different conversations with the people that's within our network, the people that's, either on social media or that are close with us. And I'm just curious, as you think about folks that you interact with and that you may be close with who may be on the other spectrum of ideology, regardless of political affiliation.
Especially as a representative,
but more on the personal side, because, dealing with people at your job is different than dealing with people in your personal life, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
How do you personally navigate those sticky situations?
Well, I think I'm maybe part of one of the benefits of being a queer man is that having to navigate sticky situations is a part of growing up as a
Talk about every night.
You
Oh,
did it
look,
out of your mouth.
Did you see how I set that up?
You set that up
No,
on purpose.
no.
Come on now.
Yeah.
Look, they don't.
Yeah.
She's not old. She's not
You
old. She's
did
long
that.
in the tooth.
Right.
Cheers.
Clanking the clank.
Yeah, that's on me. That's on me.
I'm glad you saw my face because I said, what?
I
Look,
was like, where's it
seriously
going?
though,
Complicated situations.
Oh, there we go. Complicated
situations
order. Okay,
are
got it.
the forte of a lot of queer people, and that's a part of it. Duan, my mom and dad are both retired lieutenant colonels in the Army. I'm in my 40s. My mom could beat the hell out of me. My parents met during the Vietnam War and stayed active duty most of their lives. And when I came out of the closet, I was 22 when I came out of the closet, my father called me up, and he had been a lifetime Republican. Army Colonel, Southern Baptist, Republican, doctor of Russian and Chinese economics. And he called me up and he said, Brian, he goes, son, I don't think I can vote for a party that thinks one of my sons is less valuable than the others.
Oh, that's dope.
And he became a Democrat when I was 22, and I didn't even know what that meant. His whole life changed, and he became my kind of Democrat, like almost a reluctant one. He pushes back. He doesn't believe in cults of personality. He believes in policy over people, like than the candidates. He really cares. And I think about, it sounds hackneyed to say, but when I'm in really tough conversations policy-wise, I try to remind myself that most Republicans I actually don't think are MAGA Republicans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Leave it to MAGA to make me have like any empathy for like your standard bearer Republican.
I was thinking that in my head.
But they have, and that's the gift I try to sort of offer. I try to, I want to overtly assume when I'm dealing with somebody that's conservative, that they're the kind of conservatives that we all remember from our childhood. The kind of conservatives that might have based their conservativeness in some authentic Christianity, or that might have based their conservativeness in public service, or the building of bridges and roads and schools used to be a conservative value. Protecting the environment, the Environmental Protection Agency was launched by Richard Nixon, and so I tried to, and it's hard, but I try to imply this grace that I have for old school Republicans. And a bipartisan system on conservatives when I'm dealing with them. I make them have to walk out of the shadow of graceful, gracious conservative politics into MAGA if they're going to do that. And a lot of them don't want to. A lot of Republicans right now hate Joe Biden and can't stand Kamala Harris, but they want the country in a different direction, and not in Donald Trump's direction. They've been messaged terribly. They don't understand what's going on or where the country is going or why it's going. These are people that think that the president is responsible for inflation, or that 10 million people have crossed the border in the last 2 years. They're just wildly misinformed. And I hate misinformation, and I don't want to hate misinformed people. And I try really hard to differentiate.
That is
I
so
struggle
tough.
because,
That's a lot of energy.
Well, it's a lot of energy, and that part I don't even mind. But it's just, I struggle for those that are Republican that see what the MAGA side is doing to their party and not saying shit. That I struggle with that, because if you truly care about what you're saying, that I don't believe in that, then you're gonna start saying some shit, saying like, no, hold on, time out. And I'm not seeing enough of that energy of like, hold on, I don't want my quote unquote party to be that. So I either need to get away and start a new party, start voting third party, whatever, or start squashing some of this the outliers that have become like the majority of the party, or at least perception wise, visually wise.
Right.
And so that's the part where I start sometimes like struggle with that piece of it.
But I feel like that's where the whole party over people comes into play for people on that side, where they are silent because they want to do what's going to keep them in the bit of power that they have after the election is said and done.
Right.
And speaking up and saying anything is going to doom them, that they're going to automatically be casted to, you're now a Democrat. Like you can't be a Republican if you are not falling in line with this person over here, who still isn't for the majority of Republicans either. Because I mean, I'll be honest, like I know people, I don't talk to these people no more. I know they dead, but I know people who are on the other side as well too. That I know that are good people. They just happen to be Republicans as well too. right? And I know that guy don't speak for them.
And it's
the
listen,
thing
let's
is that fear of like, I don't have a lot of sympathy and I have no empathy for somebody that doesn't want equality because they're afraid they're going to get treated like they were treating other people.
Right.
Oof.
I struggle with that.
Right? Like, I don't know how much room I'm supposed to make for you. I don't know how much grace I'm supposed to have for you. If the root of your fear, the root of your opposition to the equality that I believe so deeply in is that you don't want to get treated like you might have treated somebody else, let alone the ignorance of the fact that the people that you treated like that won't treat you like that. They're better than that.
Right.
And we see that time and time again. It's why I want second generation immigrants in office, why I want people of color in office, why I want women in office, is that the data is extremely clear that marginalized people don't marginalize when they are in office, when they are in power. And so if nothing other than, yes, you're afraid that we're going to treat you like you treated us, at least pay attention to the reality of the fact that we don't.
Brian, I'm gonna need you to put your cape out. Get back in the game, bitch. That's all I need to know.
Run for office,
you
guys.
retired,
Let me help you
hold
run
on.
for office.
No. You get out there and get.
We
go
got the
ahead.
podcast.
Look,
That's our
we got
office.
you, baby. We gonna lift you up because
we need you to retire. Take that retire out the title. So you might got something up your sleeve in the future, but hold on. Kamala, we got someone for your cabinet right here.
Yep,
Thank you.
Right here. Come get him.
Just invite us to the White House,
The
the gay pride at the White House. That's all we need. But I mean, honestly, we can talk to you all day about this stuff, but there are a few pop culture moments here
Okay.
that we also want to kind of get your perspective on. So, aunties, do you give a damn? All right, aunties, do you give a damn that all these Christians mad at the drag queens for not even portraying the Last Supper?
I thought that shit was so funny. Like, not the drag queen performance, but I thought the outrage was just very funny because if anyone who's an athlete, no, the Olympics is about the whole world. Like, it's not about you. Like, you are literally watching the Olympics to see a scope of the whole entire world. So the thought that something that you might not be aware of, something that you might not know or you might not like, might be exposed to you while watching the Olympics, girl, it's the world stage. World stage.
There's nothing worse than someone thinking it's about them still. It ain't about you, ho!
Right, you're not the main
Go
character in the story.
Everything ain't about you. And it's the Greek gods of Olympia. And it's the motherfucking Olympics.
Right. It is
Go
the
educate
most
yourself.
sort of white nationalist thing to think, white nationalist Christian thing to think that this thing that had nothing to do with you is completely not only about you, but it's about coming for you. Please. And nobody said one word when The Simpsons or The Sopranos or Game of Thrones. Like, everybody references these pop culture moments. It's why they're pop culture moments. In fact, the Last Supper painting is referencing one of these moments. Like, come on.
And honestly, the drag queens didn't even do nothing. It wasn't even like it was good drag in the moment. It was just there.
It was just
like, let's at least talk about like if it was like a good drag or some shit.
I ain't gonna lie. Anyone that I know that had an issue with it, and I don't care if y'all. I'm talking to some of my people on Facebook. Okay, everyone that I personally know who had an issue with saying with that could never compete in any of that's happening over there.
Say that
they the
again.
ones eating the potato chips. They the one eating the Oreos.
How tired is their makeup, Jarrell? How tired is their makeup?
Or the drag.
Girl.
She said you fat and you ugly and you lazy.
Girl.
Damn,
And you got good heels on.
You ugly bitch, okay? Look,
You ugly
you ugly bitch, okay?
I know that's right.
Because I laughed watching like my Facebook and people, and I was like, bitch, I know you. You can't do shit. Like, you get Whitney walking up the stairs, bitch. What you mean you got an issue with anything happening at the Olympics? Bitch, change the channel.
My Uncle Jeff is no
channel.
longer going to compete. He's given up his Olympic dream.
This is how little I gave a damn. I didn't even know that was an issue.
Well, because we know you ain't watching the Olympics like that. So we definitely know she was like, she said, I was in, where you were in Mexico, right? Is that where you at? She was
right. He was all down there in Mexico City eating good. Hey, Memo. And everything, seeing everybody. Shit. Dewan, like, Dewan and his picture in like Comfort Plus or first class with his Balenciaga shoes on. I was like, go ahead, bitch.
As he said, that's the answer to
You
that.
know it's true.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, that's my sis right there. That's my sis. Do y'all give a
Don't I
damn?
look rich, you ugly bitch?
You're right.
Y'all look rich, you ugly bitch.
Yes. Do you guys give a damn that everybody talking about that and not Celine's amazing performance?
I actually, okay, I'm not gonna lie, I cried.
I
And
did
y'all
too.
know I'm not a Celine fan like that. I really don't know
Yeah.
homie like that. But after watching that special, was it on Max? It was either Max or
Yeah.
Prime, either one.
Oh, Prime. Yeah.
Regardless, I watched that and I felt so heartbroken for her. And then seeing her perform, the mic was on and bitch sounded good. I also just was sad because I know that she is going through and she is literally doing this for the world. Like, you just knew she just maybe felt like this might be the last time to be at this level, like this, a stage this huge. And you know, she had to sacrifice a lot personally and physically and mentally, emotionally to make that performance happen. And I just won't take that for granted.
It did. It
Yeah,
felt
next-
like it felt like one of those great big moments, right? Like there, to know what's going on with her is to know that it wasn't an arrogant moment. It was a sort of a selfless moment. And you don't get a lot of those from the great grand dames, from the great big. I mean, she's a voice and a name that will be remembered for long, long, long after she is no longer with us. And to know that she got to have a moment like that. She had a lifetime of big moments, right? She's been on TV since she was a teenager. But she got to push through what the whole world knew was a real hard time for her, and just shine. It felt so Olympic.
Yeah, it really do.
Yeah, she looked great. She sounded great, and then the rain kind of falling too, and
The
then
sparkle.
like the Eiffel Tower, like what they did with the lighting of the Eiffel Tower was insanity. Like it's already insanity over there when they light up the Eiffel Tower. This was like next year, so like
Don't say
it definitely
they.
was a moment.
It was gays. You know it was.
It was gays. Well, I think that wasn't the head guy gay. I think he was gay.
Sure.
Well, I might be putting
It's the Olympics. They're all
all
gay.
the drag queens. You right on that.
Okay.
You right.
I
on
do
that.
feel
You know how to
like-
do some shit.
I do feel like it's rare these days to be witness to an iconic moment. And I feel like if we go back to, like Whitney Houston singing the Star Spangled Banner,
Yes.
I feel like
Yes.
this is on par with those kind of just not necessarily once in a lifetime, because sometimes you're lucky enough to experience a couple of really phenomenal things, but in the spirit of musicality and humanity and artistic contribution and celebration and all of these positive aspects of humanity, we got to witness that. And I feel like it resonated with a lot of people, but I think as time goes on, people will come back to this moment, like people go back to the Whitney moment at the Super Bowl. Like it was truly a moment in time that was really celebratory in more ways than one, and it touched a lot of people.
I've watched it a few times since then. I ain't gonna lie.
Same.
And I have to.
And I still don't even know what the hell she's saying, but I'm like, you did that,
Girl, look, I said, let me learn some French real quick, okay?
Je parle un peu
It
français.
sounds slightly
hey.
spirited, but it's so beautiful when she sings it.
It was so beautiful. It was so beautiful.
She should have
I know what
ended
you're
by
saying,
saying
but it's beautiful, girl.
France.
Do you know that means?
France.
Do you know that
Montréal.
Oh Lord. Do you give a damn? And I know you do. Sometimes I put these on here. I'm like, of course we give a
Go
damn.
ahead.
Do you
Say
give a
it.
damn that Simone Biles is now the most decorated American gymnast, and probably by the time this episode comes out on Monday, probably tied or surpasses Allison Felix as the most decorated female Olympian ever?
I'll tell you the reason I give a damn, guys, is that male athletes are given a damn, and it's about time, right? We're all so sick of hearing somebody ask a white tennis player about the most Grand Slams they've ever won, and having them have to explain that who Serena and Venus are to a tennis reporter, or when like I don't know. every male athlete I have heard asked about Simone Biles has had the right response to the reporter about what it's like to be in an Olympics with the GOAT, right? To be around the greatest athlete that has ever lived in their sport and that may ever live in their sport. And I am grateful for, I can't believe I'm saying this, I'm grateful that the male athletes of the Olympics are doing what they're supposed to do and making sure that they continually elevate her for being the best athlete at the Olympics right now.
That part.
Okay, I do have to say one thing because I am actually truly rooting for Simone. So I actually know the statistic. So she would not be the most decorated gymnast of all time. There's a homegirl from Russia who got a shit ton of yeah, and she got a shit ton of medals from 80 to 84.
Well, she has the most gold.
I credit the Russian judge.
Yeah,
that part too. But yeah, honestly, I give a damn. I love seeing people win, but I love seeing black
I
women
just called her. She said a true Simone fan. Damn, let me go sit down there.
Wait, no. Because let me tell you, like I follow Simone.
She's more than I am.
I guess so.
I follow Simone like even when she's on a sideline for her husband. Okay, from the Packers to the Bears. Okay, so I'll be watching the Bears to watch Simone sideline for her husband. Okay, so I follow her all year round. But no, I say this.
I guess I don't give a damn then.
She said you ain't even got no dams to give.
Right.
She said I got all the dams.
All the dams.
I got a bucket of dams sitting over here.
And all of them.
You and you. But no, I love seeing black women win. And after watching her do one of the hardest things I'm sure she's probably ever done, which is to choose herself in the Tokyo Olympics, right? Yeah. Which we would be having a whole different conversation. Had she been at her peak and competed in there, she would have already been the greatest with the medal counts. Yeah. She is the greatest of all time, but medal count, she would have had all those had she stayed in Tokyo, right? So I love seeing this redemption for her, but I don't even want to say the word redemption. I just love seeing her prove to herself, that she can still overcome the things out that are bigger than gymnastics, right? As an athlete, there are some things that we're just naturally gifted at, but there are outside factors that play a role into who you are and how you show up for yourself and et cetera. And I love watching her overcome those things because those aren't the things that we can see and we can measure in a competition. We don't get to see those things happen until she gets the goal that she was reaching for. And that is what we saw with them getting gold today. So that's the part that
Shout
I
out to
truly,
Suni too. It's good to see Suni out
there
like
a true fan,
killing it.
Yeah.
Right.
The
biggest fan
actual fan. She's like, I know the actual statistics. Okay, then host, take it then, spout it out.
I want you to turn your camera to your Simone wall.
I know. She said, right.
No, actually, Simone is sitting right here next to her.
Right.
I got you, girl. Don't worry. We're good. Yeah.
I know that's right. Do we give a damn that? And spoiler alert, community, if you haven't watched the last episode of
Hold on,
Drag Race.
wait. Before you move on to that, there's one more pop culture part of the Olympics that you best to be talking about. About the Olympics?
Or, Grindr is what you're probably thinking of in your mind.
Nope.
Am I right?
Oh, Beyonce, bitch, and her video to Team USA.
Oh, yes. Oh, no, I have a whole Beyonce section.
Okay, good.
It's coming.
Okay.
It's coming. Do we give a damn that Angeria is the winner of Drag Race All-Stars 9?
Yes.
Ooh, Brian, you go first. That was a big old sign.
I do. I think I feel like everybody did. First I liked the All-Stars rules because I want to see all of these queens in every episode. I want to see what they do and I want to see what their costumes are. I want to see their talent in every one of them. But, Plastique rose to the top of this group of queens like no other queen I think ever has. It's like when you hear somebody that's like a music writer's favorite musician or an athlete's favorite athlete. Plastique is the queen that every queen that I have ever cared about looks to and says, that's what peak drag is right now. She's not just gorgeous. She's not just creative. She's funny. She's interesting. She's endearing. And that's complicated. All drag queens are good communicators. They're all funny. They all can perform. But Plastique Tiara this season I think taught a lot of people a lesson about what peak drag could look like.
Yeah.
And so, do I wish she was in the final three? I do. I don't think the final three is the whoever wins is always decided by Rue. We know that, and it's the final three is I think the thing that we can all hope for. And I wish she had gotten to be in the final three because I think she earned it.
Yeah, it was
I
weird that she
agree.
threw Vanjie in there at the last moment. I was like, okay. And I love Vanjie, don't get me wrong.
I understand.
Vanjie's final performance was peak.
And actually, that last outfit was kind of fire. Even though it's like her drag is just so different than the rest of the girls.
It's very Banshee.
It's very Banshee, and it was top notch Banshee because that chain link with the Banshee on
with
it,
the names on
and
it,
that blue jacket,
I'm gonna
the Cookie Monster jacket.
The Cookie
I've
Monster
said
jacket?
this 1,000
Monster jacket
times
was fire.
on this podcast that Vanjie's. I'll give it to Plastique in terms of like her looks, and it's great when you have the money to do that.
That part.
So I think let's be clear when we're talking about who deserves to be up in the top of the top, because if every single queen had the equal opportunity
$250,000
to fund this business venture, which really I get it, like you're every single look that you're putting on is going to fuel your actual business behind this, so that's her shtick, and I get that. But the underdog that went unsung through this entire thing, not from a performance perspective, because I think that her performances were really kind of like average, but her face and her aesthetic and her attire and the way that she showed up in this season, Vanjie, unsung hero, really. And I think people will look back on this and will actually, people are oohing eyeing over Plastique now, but that shit will fade as everyone else is doing what she did this season next season. But people will look back and say, we should have been talking about that goddamn Vanjie because she didn't change the goddamn game. Her look was so authentically her and representative of her culture in such a way that had not been shown on the main stage. And it was so elevated, but it still felt hood. And I loved it. I absolutely loved what she brought to the stage.
Her makeup skills alone from like her season to now.
Her wig game,
her new
phenomenal.
Oof. Yeah,
her wig
right.
game,
that wig and that win in that episode. She said, I was like, yes, bitch.
Also, how did Chanel not develop another talent in 15 years?
Girl, she did. She balanced a square on her chin. That's what she did.
I love Chanel.
Let me just hold this.
I think Chanel is wonderful. I wanted more from Chanel's talent.
She said like this to her.
She said, hold my purse. She said, hold my purse. Wait a minute. I said, what the fuck is this?
She looked gorgeous though. That outfit was fire.
But what I will say about Chanel is, it came through in her confessional that she's been stuck, and she's been stuck ever since season 1 when she chose to go home. And it takes me back to that old adage that and I'm gonna flub it up because it's fleeting, but it's the idea that you never gosh, what is that phrase? You fail at everything.
Never gonna get it.
No, and anyway, it's this notion that if you don't follow through, you will never know. So people that take themselves out of the competition, there is a
you miss every shot you don't take.
Thank you, baby. Thank you. See, you were in my head. I couldn't get the words.
The sports,
the basketball reference.
Right.
I thought it was hockey. Shit.
Oh, it was hockey.
Oh, was it hockey?
I don't know.
It was,
all of them.
Beautiful gowns. Beautiful gowns. Back to what I was saying.
Back to what you're saying.
Back to what I was saying.
So was Roxy the true second place?
Well, just 1 second. Just 1 second, because Chanel is a representative as to why we as people should go after the things that we're really passionate about. And it's a cautionary tale that when you give up and you take yourself out, you never know how that's going to affect you in the long term. And I think that was her downfall. So the fact that she brought out the juggling and whatnot, I think it was just representative of the fact that she had not grown. But Rue was really right when she said, you are just starting to open up, and the world is going to be your oyster from now on, and you're a different person from this point forward. And that is something that we should all be listening to for ourselves. Don't block
But
your
then
own
also
blessings
too,
by
I
taking
want
your
to add
out.
in there as well too that like Drag Race is a lot different now than it was back then as well too, right?
Oh,
For me,
absolutely.
I had like I said, I've been watching Drag Race now for just 3 years, right? So I didn't even know who she was, and so seeing Chanel for me, like I was kind of heartbroken because I'm like, who is it? Why is she here? Because
Damn.
Baby, them
what she
first
been
8
doing? She been here.
episodes,
She was like, not one, nothing.
Yeah.
not
But
one
then
beautiful
like,
benefactress
but then
badge.
they had those. But then she like unlocked something, and I could start seeing. I was like, okay, I get it. I definitely get it. And
And
I
low
don't
key,
know.
her makeup skills are phenomenal.
Oh, Chanel's makeup skills.
Phenomenal. It's very
Ooh,
draggy.
were you-
It's very old school draggy, but it is phenomenal.
It's-
She got them
She's painted.
female impersonation.
When
Yeah.
Raven
Painting
compliments you of
skills.
your skill, like, because I watched like the Raven, her and Raja show on YouTube.
Yep.
When Raven compliments you of your skills, like you know you're doing some shit.
She got that.
She don't say
Trinity
that shit to
thing. It's like
anybody.
just female
Oh,
impersonator
hey.
magic.
Hey,
Honestly,
man.
I also love them reaching back. Bring out more season 1, 2, and 3 queens.
I
There were
honestly
some
like
fascinating queens.
I wanna
in
see
those
Pork
first
Chop.
couple of years. Bring back Pork Chop, right?
Bring her back.
Yeah.
They do trot her out every once in a while.
They be trying her every few seasons.
Yeah.
The Pork Chop Lounge and everything else.
I feel like they just hand her like a brown paper bag that says Pork Chop Drag, and she just puts it all on.
I would love for them to bring back Mystique.
Tatiana, my favorite queen of
From
all time
season
is Tatiana.
Wow.
Mystique.
They did bring Tatiana back.
You
They
remember
brought her
All
back.
Stars
Yeah.
5,
5, and she
4,
did a
one of them.
phenomenal
She was
job.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
truly one of the best lip syncs in All Stars
Yeah.
history.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, here's the thing. That last episode was probably the best episode of the season.
It not
Because it's kind of a
probably.
dry
It
season.
was. It not probably. It was.
It was.
It absolutely
George's
was.
her little backflip ate me all the way up. I was like, "Go ahead,
her ass
George's."
across the
Yeah.
stage. I said,
Baby.
oh,
And she flipped that hair and said,
Mind you, she's
"Yes,
the
bitch, you
size
see
of
me
my
gliding."
girl.
Right. I know, seriously, she's a tiny bitch. But yeah, it was definitely the best episode. Do you feel Angeria? So I love Angeria, so I'm glad she won.
Mm-hmm.
But how are we feeling about Roxy? How are we feeling about
Okay,
Roxy?
I want to go because this is the only thing I can really talk about because y'all talk about the old girls and I don't know any of the other girls. So I think Angeria should have won. I mean, out of everybody who was blocked the most, right? And you
Right.
don't get blocked for being a nobody. Okay, you don't.
And
get
they called her
blocked.
delusional. Remember?
Okay,
That was her
the thing.
storyline for like
Yes.
4 whole episodes. That she was the one that was delusional.
1000%. And the truth is too, she's the type of drag queen that I gravitate to the most. Like she has that pageant background, but she's also funny. And then she also just brings something a little bit different. She's not necessarily, she's not a one-trick pony. Like she can glam it up, but then she can also entertain you at the same time.
That
She
last
doesn't.
number.
Yeah. Girl,
Yeah.
Bark and bite. Bark and
But
bite.
she knows how to hit the moment.
She also
Absolutely.
doesn't
She
come
knows
for
when to
anybody.
hit the moment.
Right, like
No,
she's not
she
there.
doesn't.
She's not there. She doesn't trash anybody. She doesn't come for anybody. She wears her sort of emotions and insecurities on her sleeve, which is what we all love from anybody in that role. Like you're a 10, you're a 12 out of 10, and you still want to share with us that you're a little insecure, that you're shook or whatnot. I am so here for that. There are some queens that win, and you think, oh, okay. And
Like
Jerry will
Kylie-
never be
like
a queen
Kylie.
that any of us
Ooh.
feel bad about winning. She
Yeah.
will live up to that every day that she has that title.
I also love the fact that she's so young, but she expresses her drag in such a
Mature
reverent, such a reverent, classic kind of way. But it still feels it doesn't feel dated at all. Like her pageantry drag, it's like old school, what people would call old school drag.
Yeah.
But there ain't nothing old school. There ain't nothing old. There ain't nothing tired about how she shows up. And she just has such an endearing personality that you can't help but root for her. And quite frankly, if we were counting the wins and counting the badges, she had the number one badges. So even though,
You're
in my
right.
opinion, Roxy ate her up in the last lip sync, because, you know, Angeria is not a lip sync assassin.
No.
She is not a tricks and flips kind of chick. What she does is she clumps across the stage and she makes you laugh. You know, she does a little Patti LaBelle arms with the back and whatnot, but you know, that's her thing.
Yeah.
So even though Roxy ate her up in the lip sync, from a count of the badges, she was already at the cream. She was already at the top. So it made sense. And I was watching it actually with Memo. Hey, Memo. And literally we both screamed because we thought that it was going to Roxy.
I know. I thought they were going to give it to Roxy just because
we thought no matter
Roxy.
what, we thought no matter how the badges were, no matter what happened, it was going to go to Roxy. And when it happened, we were both just like shocked and we're both like screaming at the top of our lungs. So
I think Roxy too is another one similar to Chanel. Got something out of this season, realizing that she's motherfucking Roxy.
Yes,
you know.
Yes,
and we've seen it forever. We're like, okay, Roxy's the one that originally kind of shifted drag on that show. And so for her to not really know that, and obviously she went through a lot of stuff. She was another one that kind of just shared what she kind of went through over the years. But I think now she realizes that everyone's looking at her like, no, you're Roxy. Like, you are Roxy.
And she's
so I think she's okay not winning this season for once, because she's like,
she kind of won hearts and minds and all that jazz. But she's that queen that, like, she's your favorite drag queen's favorite drag queen.
Literally.
And that's a good place to be.
Yeah. 1,000%. All right, we'll get out of this real quick. We'll end with this one. 2 Beyonce moments. So Beyonce giving us every visual but the visuals we want. But she back with the Olympics commercial that she did with the yeah. And she's also supposedly in negotiations to perform approximately 100 shows over 4 years at the MGM Grand. So do we give a damn with this new Beyonce that she's giving us? She keeps teasing us.
Can we talk about the body first? I said, what in the drag queen body is this bitch serving? I said,
that's somebody mama.
Girl,
a couple of bodies, mamas.
That's somebody else's mama.
About three. She got about three.
Hella good.
Look, I was gooped. I sat there and I was like, wait. Okay, you know, I actually give a fuck about the Olympics a lot more now. Like, I honestly,
not me.
The ceremonies didn't really do a whole lot for me outside of Celine. First of all, it was raining, and you can tell the bitches were miserable.
Long.
Okay, and it was long.
Right.
It was long for no reason, right?
Yeah.
But baby, that commercial, I said, and someone said this, and it was I forget who it was, and then it was a black woman. So she was like, you know, this might be the only time in the year you might hear me say USA, because you know USA don't really fucks with a lot of people that look like us.
Roll off the black person's tongue.
Okay, but after that commercial, I was like, oh, USA. I was like, USA, bitch.
You said TEAM USA.
So wait, now you're country and you're screaming USA.
Damn. Beyonce, give me every time. Shit.
Every time.
We got to make
Flip
more
the
black
script.
jobs. So I mean,
like the presidency.
Boom.
That
Okay.
part.
Boom.
Look.
Bingo. Yeah, no, she gagged me. I was like, damn it, Beyonce. Every time. And how this didn't leak with all them athletes in that commercial. Mm-hmm. That NDA that she has is top tier. This shit don't leak nowhere. I need her lawyers. Brian, you a lawyer. How is her NDA the best in the
You know what? Trump doesn't even have one. It's the threat of Beyonce. Just the threat.
It's the respect
right?
of
Like,
Beyonce.
do you want to go out in this world being the person that like pissed off Beyonce, like where like that like ruined her game or like spilled the tea? No. There's no.
You say
NDA.
one bad word about Beyonce, and the
Beyonce
internet will cancel you
Destroy
in a heart.
you.
We stop canceling people, but the Beehive will cancel you till this day,
girl.
Mm-hmm.
Because who are you? Because who asked you? Okay.
Exactly. And do we care that it's looking like it might be the MGM Grand and not the Sphere that we were thinking?
No,
Honestly,
because it ain't gonna make a difference.
The place to be. It means that the Sphere is now a second fiddle.
You want to know the only thing I care about?
That part.
Know what? The only thing I care about is them damn ticket prices. Let a bitch know how much she needs to pay. That's what I care about the most. I don't give a fuck which place that's gonna be in. How much?
Because Auntie Henny, Because Auntie Henny and I didn't see her in the she did later, but the very first time
them
we saw
US
her was
prices
where?
be something different.
And Paris. Okay, so
Yes.
I'm
That's
just
why-
saying.
That's why I still only
These
have
US
one testicle
prices.
because I gave up my last testicle to go see her twice last time.
Jarrell, you know it's going to be fluctuating prices. They're going to be like, "What's your rent? Just what's 1 month of your rent?" I'm like, "What do you mean? What's
It's
1
like-
month?" They're like, "It's going to be 1.5 months of your rent." That's how
You
it's
know,
like
Come
for
on,
everyone.
don't take my house now. I got my mortgage.
Not
Come
these
on
New
now,
York,
don't take
not
that.
these New York City rents. No, baby. I
Right?
don't. No,
I'll be going to see
I
her in
will be
Kansas
mad.
City. Yeah, I'll be going to
Let me-
Iowa.
Let me rent an apartment back in Columbus, Ohio, and say, okay, now that's my rent.
Go to Harrisburg.
Right, Harrisburg.
Yeah, exactly. Come to Harrisburg. We got a lot of bridges.
Exactly. All right. So before you get out of here, we do a segment called Curiosity, and it's just to kind of get to know folks a little differently than maybe they know you, and it's either this or that or a little question. So let's see here. We'll start here. Who was your first childhood like gay crush?
Do you guys remember the Never-Ending Story?
yes,
The
I
movie
do.
Yes.
Atreyu from the Never-Ending Story.
Really?
Like, goes on that adventure, has to rescue Artax from the swamp of sadness, all of that.
He said, "I remember everything."
Atreyu was when Artax dies in the swamp. I was there with him.
Oh,
Yeah, Atreyu.
that was the
First
first
crush.
trauma too. I bet.
Yeah, oh yeah. We're getting over it.
We're working on it.
30 years later, but we're getting there.
30 plus.
The wines of Napa or the beers of Pennsylvania?
Oh shit. The wines of
I
Napa.
know, right?
Yeah, I'm not
Okay, there
stupid.
you
The
go.
wines of Napa. Good beer in Pennsylvania. Good beer in Pennsylvania. World famous wine in Napa.
Facts.
What are the favorite bitters that you have made?
No way you asked me that. I've got them in front of me because I'm drinking a cocktail with them. So I like to
Get
make
out.
bitters in all the places that I live, and I try to make it based on local flavors of the place. So I'm in New York now, so I just made this year. I made a big apple bitters with a bunch of different types of apples. I was in LA this summer, and I made a lavender avocado bitters.
Oh.
But the best one
That
I ever
sounds very
made, right? Doesn't it sound like it tastes like suntan lotion and shame? The best one I ever made a couple of years ago. I passed out 20 peaches on the House floor with baggies on the Republican and Democratic side, and I said I need the pits back. When you make peach bitters, you use the pit, not the flesh. And I went to the Capitol Gardener and asked for some of the mint from the Capitol Garden. And the month that Donald Trump was impeached, I made impeachment bitters, and gave out about 100
that's
bottles.
so
Not a bitter
clever.
peach.
Brian, I fucked so hard with you, bitch. I
Impeachment.
really
I'm so
do.
done with you.
I really do. The shade of it all and everything. I love it.
Yeah, I was real proud of that one.
But
And it
that's why
tastes
we
good.
need more gays in government,
Right.
because the way Pete Buttigieg is eating these hoes up right now too, with the little pettiness.
Yeah.
Don't come on now. The
You know,
gays will
I
out
joke
petty
about it
anyone.
all the time, but queer people, we've all spent a lifetime prepping for jobs like government service. And I said it earlier, we know how to look back, we know how to look around, we know how to make sure we're not the only one or the last one, or if we're the first one, that there are others around us. Queer people, we do a very, very, very good job of this. And I'd like to think any of you had my job for a month, you would have done it as well as I did and better than I did based on your life experiences. And that's why we all need to get elected. There's about 1,300 queer people in office in America, and there should be 21,000 based on the demographics of the country. We got a lot of catching up to do.
Do you think we'll get to a point where, if you got news out there, you can still run for office?
Right.
You know what? It's the opposite. I
Asking
think
for a
you
friend.
should run for news. People who run on their accomplishments and all the things that they've won or how unique they are only create distance between themselves and people who are going to vote for them. When you run on who
But
you
have
are,
you seen this?
right? Yeah, right. Hold on, you have to use the whole iPad screen for that.
Right.
Right?
Never
We are
count.
all full of mistakes. We all make mistakes. We all make foibles. We're not looking for ivory towers anymore. Ivory towers got us into this bullshit, and ivory towers are always a lie. I will take an authentic person with a lot of mistakes over a fake ass person who says they've never made any. Any day of the week.
And my news ain't a mistake. I purposely took them. Shit.
And I said this.
No mistake in that.
Okay.
The only mistake was the lighting.
Look.
Honey, got the lighting, got it all situated like,
Not over here, baby.
You're like,
honey,
how dare you?
no mistake in that. What is your favorite memory on the age cycle race? Like, I know you've done that several times.
Oh, my favorite memory on the AIDS life cycle. So I'm not a cyclist, and I have done this now 2 years in a row because my partner had signed me up for it, and I didn't realize at first that you don't have to be a cyclist. Everybody knows how to ride a bike. It's a ride, not a race. But I was 2 years ago when I was doing the race, I was feeling like shit on the third day. It was raining. I was just feeling I was feeling fat. I was feeling unathletic. I just wasn't feeling like I belonged out there. And this guy passed me who had easily 10 years on me and was probably 50 pounds heavier than I am on a bike that was just as junky as mine. And he smiled at me. He told me I was doing a good job, and he biked past me. And it just robbed me of every excuse that I was giving myself at the time. And they weren't excuses about whether or not I was going to finish. They were excuses about whether or not I was actually having a good time. And I was, but I had somehow talked myself out of thinking I wasn't. And it was a real important moment for me personally. I can do a really good job of psyching myself out for some things, or sort of thinking that I'm not capable of stuff. And somebody who didn't know me, who had everything that I was complaining about and more in spades, passed me and still had the time to compliment me and tell me I was doing a good job. I'll never forget it.
Oh,
I love that.
Crop top or tank top?
Crop top every day of the week. All bodies are crop top bodies. I have a bit of a belly scar now that I show off with my crops, but I'll take a crop in it.
Yeah, because the group chat shot me down today when I was talking about we should do crop time.
Don't say that.
But I was gonna say that I got you because Real was the only person, and it's like 11-person group chat that was like, "Bitch, I'm gonna rock one with you too," and I was like,
that group chat did not include me, by the way.
Look, Tia Tamara.
Or the answer is a crop.
Well, you're not going to market days.
I might.
It was market days conversation.
I might leave from Bogota, where I will be at that time. To come back.
Say,
Don't leave from Bogota.
No flex zone. Okay, flex. Favorite place you've ever camped?
Oh wow. I have camped at the base of Half Dome in California. In fact, I couldn't even I got scared and didn't finish it, and it is still my favorite place ever. 2 years ago, my now fiance and a group of our friends went on this hike. We camped at the base. It's about 24 miles in total up and back, and I got to a half a mile short of the halfway point, and I couldn't climb Half Dome. I got too scared. It was just I'm scared of heights, and I got all the way there and couldn't get the last little bit of it. But the group that I was with knew how scared I was, that it wasn't about whether we finished it or not. It was the experience. And it is now probably my favorite camping trip of all time. It is also the trip where I knew I was falling in love, but I think it's the trip where I fully fell in love with my fiance.
Oh,
that's amazing.
I love that. Also, but that's scary. Oh,
it was so scary.
I was about to say that ain't me.
That's you right. You definitely fell in love because that's some shit love will make you do. Okay.
Well, and also
it couldn't
I can
be
kind of stupid. Like I don't know. Like if you ask me to stand perfectly still in the middle of a room and hold a glass of water, the odds of me dropping it are still higher than zero, right? Like the idea of me climbing a big mountain where it's up to me to not die. I don't know that I need that.
I got too much ass behind me to be going up anything that damn steep.
Maybe it's propelling you up the mountain.
Girl, it's dragging my ass down.
Well, Jarrell, if you fail, it'll be like the gummy bears. Boom.
Bouncing here and there and everywhere.
Right. UBI.
Baby, I wish I had half of your problems.
Wait, aren't you headed to Bogota? You do have half his problems.
No, he's talking about ass problems.
I mean, it would really get no use, but it would be nice for visuals.
It'd be like,
nice
You're like,
let me tell you, with great power comes great responsibility. That's all I'm gonna say.
He said, "Look, don't
you strike me as especially responsible."
Very. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
26 time
Henny-
responsible.
He's super responsible. Mhm.
26
I
time
have a
responsible.
question. Like I meant to ask this earlier. I always wondered because as a politician, the wardrobe. How much do you spend in suits, and how many suits do you have?
And you'll love this because it's next to nothing. I was a lawyer. I'm a civil rights attorney by trade, and I was a lawyer before I was elected. So I had like 2 or 3 suits that you get at Macy's, and you spend $200 to $300 a suit.
Right.
The suit that I got sworn in on, my parents bought me for Christmas 3 years earlier when I needed a suit so I got for Christmas for my folks. But I remember I represented Philadelphia. So when I was home in Philly and I needed to be in a suit, I had to kind of look good. In the Capitol, I could look like shit and nobody cared. I wore the same suit for a month straight pre-COVID. I just changed my tie and nobody knew. The quick answer is not much. And it might be different in Congress and it might be different in California. But in the Pennsylvania General Assembly, the only requirement is that you have a blazer and a tie. And I could have wrapped a burlap sack around my shoulders and like a dog collar around my neck and people wouldn't have cared.
You better print that image.
I
would care.
I
wouldn't care.
It's a gay podcast. So like,
look.
Here's a few more. Kylie Minogue or Madonna?
Kylie Minogue. Don't tell Madonna, by the way, but yeah, Kylie Minogue.
Right. Who do you like? RuPaul's Drag Race All Stars or the regular season better?
Ooh. I know drag queens the way that a lot of straight guys know quarterbacks. And so if you could have a game where all the great quarterbacks were on the field at once, I can see why someone would like that. But also it's a little overkill. I like the new queens of a new season. Yeah, we're going into season 17,000.
Yeah.
But I like meeting and I like new queens. I love the standard bearers, but new seasons I think are good for the soul.
Yeah. What position did you play when you played football?
I was a defensive tackle. I was a strong side defensive tackle.
I got you. All right now. Okay. I was running back, so.
Oh, I noticed.
Running back. Yeah, no, I quit football. My dad always tells a story.
If you say you had to make a pass at the tight end to score,
the tight end, right? No, I quit in like 5th grade. I was this ain't my ministry. I think I played football because everybody knew I was athletic, and I just didn't want to get hit like that.
You said this ain't my ministry. Exactly.
It ain't my ministry.
You know what's so wild?
Y'all ain't gonna hit me like this.
Believe it or not, I played football and I played basketball. Yes, for 1 year.
I know what you're about to say.
For 1 year, I was in the 6th grade.
Because remember he told that story how that one dude was making fun of him and he picked him up, threw him to the ground, and ran off the field.
Yeah,
I was a lineman. Yeah,
darn right.
Believe my little 60-pound string bean ass was sitting up there blocking stuff, but I realized that I really didn't like football because I was cold in the wintertime and I didn't like to play outside.
It's like, it's cold out here. You hit me like this.
My bones are all rattling. I can't
growing
even
up in
fold my
Michigan in the middle of nowhere. I was like, what's all of this? You cowboy fan heifers.
Wait,
hit me.
Where in Michigan did you grow up?
Saginaw.
I know that. My ex is from Alma. I know.
Oh, shut up. Well, I went to Central Michigan, so that's like 20 minutes down the street.
I went to law
My dad
school
was a
Michigan
professor
State.
at Alma for a hot second, too.
No, yeah, that is.
We're going to talk about that.
Cold, windy, barren winters out there.
Very
much.
So, no, ma'am, don't hit me like that. I'm good. So I ran track and played basketball and all that, but I was like, that? Not my ministry.
Wait, I'll tell you the reason that I'm glad that I played football when it all comes down to it is that I am much smaller than I was as a football player, and all my buddies are much larger than they were when we were younger. If for no other reason than like, yeah, I guess the gay has kept some weight off of me, but it certainly didn't keep. All my buddies have blown up, and we get together, and I feel I'm like a twink now around my.
You're like,
it's great. I had to wait 30 years for it. 30 years later, I'm the twink.
Hey.
Hey, there we go.
She's like, I can taste the deliciousness of myself.
that, yeah.
I love it.
Coming to the stage is Brian Sims. What song is playing?
What song is playing? Ring of Fire by Johnny Cash.
Okay.
All right.
Ring.
I
Okay,
fell into
yeah.
a burning ring of fire.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't believe I
I
picked
love
a
that.
country song.
You did.
Somewhere my
you
dad
did.
just smiled.
He's happy.
And Beyonce.
Ring
And Beyonce. Yeah, right. She's more
Exactly.
country than my dad.
Hey. And we'll end it there, actually. Beyonce or Janet?
Oh, Beyonce. Janet who?
Okay.
I don't mean it. I don't mean it. I don't mean it. Beyonce.
Well,
Corral's face.
community, that's it. You will never see Brian Sims on here ever again. And watch it. No, I'm saying. He said Janet. Who?
I did that, and then I ripped off my breastplate.
Right. Titty all out. Janet, who?
I had 2 wardrobe malfunctions just then.
Bitch, the way all of our faces literally just
Cracked.
Well, you ain't gonna do that to Miss Janet, you nasty.
Also, you're not supposed to put up those kind of questions. Beyonce or Janet? You're not supposed to
I know,
ask
that's
man
why
that.
it's a hard question. I know.
With risks like this,
it's
how
a
am I
valid
supposed to answer
question.
that question?
You're not supposed to. You
Both
failed,
of them.
Brian. You
Both
failed.
of them.
No, but,
So
and
much for this
community,
episode.
happy 2 years of Renaissance, by the way.
Happy 2
maybe
years
we'll
of
talk about that in
Renaissance.
the future.
Yes.
So 2 years of Renaissance.
Guys, my boyfriend or my fiance, love you, babe.
Ooh.
My fiance's brother
upgrade him.
worked on Break My Soul. Got nominated for 2 Grammys for Break My Soul.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Walked-
That's
walked the
incredible.
red carpet and everything.
That's awesome.
Yep, Chris McLaughlin.
Hey, Chris McLaughlin. I
Thanks,
love that
Chris.
song.
You do good work.
Where did he go to school? College? Kent State?
I think he went to NYU, but I'm not 100%
Okay.
sure about that.
I was like,
He's a music producer and recording engineer. He's based out of LA.
okay. Okay.
Chris Deep Space. Cigar Cigarette is his band, but he worked with first Kanye and then Beyonce on that album.
Wow. The pedigree is deep there. That's amazing.
Love to be in those
Congrats to him.
sessions.
That's awesome.
Right? Wouldn't you love to sit in on one of those sessions?
Like the
I would
music
die.
kid in me, like still, could be everything.
Also, you just know that like Big Frida in a soundstage is just a badass. It's just kind of like in
Oh,
charge
my
of
God.
everything.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Brian, we appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. Like even tonight, like he had stuff, and he still was like gracious to hop in, like hopping all over New York. But we appreciate you taking the time, and honestly, like kind of just squaring up some of just like the political space that like we might not know and be as privy to. And you're welcome back anytime.
Yeah.
I'm sure all the gays listen to this podcast already follow you and know where to find you. But if not, where can they find you? And what do you have coming up? Anything else you want to tout and let us know about?
I'm on all the social media platforms except for TikTok. The president said it's bad, and then it was good, and then it was bad again. So I'm not sure. Brian Sims with 1M, PA for Pennsylvania, not for anything else. I'm working on a bunch of things. I just spent a good chunk of my day today working with a couple of drag queens that launched Drag Pack a couple months ago. I work with an organization called Agenda PAC, which identified the most anti-LGBTQ legislators in the country who are susceptible to losing in this next election cycle. We've got the
Where can we find that at?
Go to
Yes.
Agenda. Go look us up, Agenda PAC, on all social media, and you can donate. And what we do is we make sure those dollars go to supporting the candidates that are going to knock out the most anti-LGBTQ legislators in the country.
I'm writing
And,
a check
Be on the screen,
right after
Agenda
this
PAC?
call. I'm writing a
Yep.
check.
Dude, please
Bet.
go look. The last thing is out for Kamala. If you are an LGBTQ plus person watching this podcast or listening to this podcast,
Oh, here it
go
is right
check
here.
out for Kamala. We are all in this together. We win, and the future of equality looks very bright right now. And I'm excited about this candidate. I'm excited about the campaign that she is running. And this is what I want from my political leaders. I want authentic, real, sort of heartfelt, empathetic leadership. And we finally have a candidate like that we can all support. And so we need to support her.
Yes,
That's a
absolutely.
whole ass word. That's a whole ass word. And one last question: like, if someone's listening to this and wants to get into politics as a queer person, what is even that first step? Is that something the Agenda PAC could help with? Is that something, or reach out to you and be like, "Hey, I'm
Reach out
interested."
to me.
Like, what does that look like?
Reach out to me. If you are a queer
Okay.
person and you think that you are the right person to run for office, or if you know someone that is, shoot me a message. I'm not kidding. I'm an easy person to find. Every email address you'll ever find for me goes to me. There's the National LGBTQ plus Victory Fund that helps to find, fund, and train out people to run. But there's not a week of my life that I don't spend at least an hour talking with somebody that's thinking about trying to make a change in their community or trying to make a change for a policy or because of an experience they had. Queer people are good at government service, and yet we often sort of self-segregate. We eliminate ourselves from these jobs because we don't come from positions of power. We don't come from money. We don't come from privilege. And yet when we do these jobs, when we run for these jobs, we run well. And when we win, we govern well. Reach out to the Victory Fund, reach out to me or any out LGBTQ candidate that you can find. They want to hear from you also.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you, boo. You're welcome back anytime. And Jarrell, Dewan, anything else on your hearts and minds?
I just donated, so I'm a
Boom.
action. Yeah.
Thank you.
I know that.
He said, I'm going to write that check
that.
digitally. The kids were like, write a
It
check.
says
What is
thank
that?
you.
Like, what's a check? And thank you.
A check? What's a check? I just go to
We need to
Venmo.
get you some shoes.
right. Find you
Let's
a
go
home.
find you
Bob,
a
in your
home.
Like the refrigerator.
A check.
Well, community, stay safe out there. If you're not registered to vote, I want to say, I was meant to say this at the top. Community, if you have family, friends, kids, neighbors that are college age and will be in college when it's time to vote, make sure that they are signing up for absentee ballots, because you can have that mailed to your dorm room, mailed to your college apartment, whatever it may be, and they can still vote. So that is super duper critical. So yeah, absentee ballot. I mean, we're already in August now. Make sure, if that's someone in your ether, in your realm, and they don't know what to do, there's a lot of information out there, but absentee ballot is going to be your best friend. Or voting early. I mean, it's going to be November, so I don't know how they probably be in school. So absentee ballot is probably going to be your best bet. So other than that, wash your hands, your legs, and your ass, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.